there. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening to you, you thirsty bunch of beer drinkers, whenever and wherever you're tuning in from. Thanks for pressing play and supporting a Canadian podcast. I'm Troy Birch with Great Lakes, Ontario's local brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery based in Etobicoke who brings you this here Between Two Fermenters, the podcast where craft beer and conversation collide, straight from the tanks to your ears. Today's guest is someone who has been flying under the radar for years, a guest that has been quietly doing something important for craft beer in this city, this province. He's not a brewer, not a brewery owner, but someone equally vital to our ecosystem. The pub owner who actually puts the beer he wants to drink in front of the people in a spot often described as a home away from home. I'm talking about Tash Sundup, better known as Tash, the visor-wearing, sandal-loving, pug admirer, owner of Bryden's on Bloor, a neighborhood pub sitting right at Jane and Bloor in Toronto's West End, or as he calls it, Bloor West Village's original craft beer destination. Now, here's what I love about Tash's story, a story that has been rarely told. He took over a totally unremarkable pub, Alexander Keith's and Stella on tap, Coors Light and Canadian in the fridge, and he transformed it into a place where craft beer actually matters. 17 taps, with 9 always in rotation, where many a GLB beers are poured with pride, and where regulars actually know what they're drinking and who made it. Sometimes even sharing a story with a brewer at the bar. Regulars. Yes, Tash has created a truly neighborhood establishment that is a real community hangout. From a healthy lunch clientele of fellas who gather weekly to swap big tales, to the individuals who occupy seats at the bar to catch a game, to beer industry folk who love a good meetup, Bryden's is the very definition of a third place. In fact, Bryden's has become something of a second home for a lot of the Great Lakes crew over the years. And honestly, that tells you everything you need to know about this place. It's here you'll find some of the very freshest GLB in existence, and you'll often find GLB's brewing operations manager, Mike Lackey, hanging out there, or a team of reps sampling the newest offerings. And for over 14 years now, Tash has hosted my annual industry holiday party at Bryden's, a pre-Christmas party that attracts brewers, sales reps, marketers, taproom staff, owners, line cleaners, canners, blah, blah, blah. Basically, anyone who tolls away in the business shows up to raise a glass and celebrate the season together. Which reminds me, I think I may have walked out of my bill this year by mistake, so I might have to pay Tash some money today. Tash actually grew up around the industry. His father was a chef, there was a restaurant in the family, and though he'll tell you he never planned to be in hospitality, he's been running Bryden's since the turn of the century. We're going to talk about the evolution of Bryden's, what it takes to run a great craft beer pub, the craft beer community from a licensee's perspective, dealing with overzealous reps, and how things have or haven't changed throughout the years. And really get to know this guy. This is behind the scenes pub owner. So crack one open, get comfortable, and hang tight. We'll be right back with Tash, owner of Bryden's on Bloor.
It's Great Lakes Brewery, a fiercely independent craft brewery. We believe in supporting communities, good times, and brewing amazing beer. It's Great Lakes Brewery. Order online for free local home delivery. In the GTA, good times and amazing beer. That's GLB.
Good morning, Tash.
Good morning.
Welcome to Between Two Fermenters here in glorious South Etobicoke. I find it really hard to believe you're up at this time of the day.
Yeah, I was not expecting that. I totally thought this would be an afternoon thing.
And you've been a fan of GLB for a long time, and we went through the rules of this show, and you're supposed to crack a beer after I introduced you, but you couldn't wait. So you cracked that Sunnyside. How did it taste?
It's excellent as always, but again, I don't wait. Crack a beer.
You're master of your own domain. So you and me go way back, Tash. So I'm happy to get you on the show. I know I've asked you a lot, but it's always been last minute. But I was hoping that we would do this when the Habs were kicked out of the playoffs. But anyway, I'm glad you're here. We met years ago during the blogging days, but my old Taps magazine days where I used to use Bryden's as my second office. I had that breakup chair that's still there to this day. The annual industry holiday party, we've done those together for over 14 years. the GLB crew, liquid lunches, cruising the streets of Montreal to an IPA induced road rash. We might get into that, but we got some stories to share today. So, are you ready to tell your story?
Yeah, let's do it.
And I think there's probably going to be a lot of reps out there that'll be listening, like beer reps that'll be tuning into this episode because to see if they can learn something about you. You've been known to be a bit elusive in the beer rep circles.
I'm like the snuffleupagus.
Yeah, for sure. Is that intentional or
definitely?
Or, yeah,
definitely intentional.
You try to play hard to get.
Yeah.
Why is that?
Fine. If they can find a way to get to me, then I'll know that they're serious about it.
A lot of times they're texting me or Lackey saying, "Hey, can you give us Tash's contact info?" And we're like, "I don't know. That brewery is not going to fly there." So,
well, that usually works.
Yeah.
If it comes through a recommendation through you, then
yeah,
definitely.
I think that's Dominion City back in the day. You started
Dominion
carrying
City,
them.
definitely. I said, "What's good out there?" And you said, "Those Dominion City guys keep stealing our taps everywhere."
Yeah.
Like,
and then I gave you an option to get them. So let's talk about the beginning. Who was Tash before Bryden's became your world? So take us back before that time.
I was just some guy coming from Peterborough and went to York University and I've always been bartending on the side and stuff. So I was just doing some bartending while I was in school, and then I started working at Bryden's.
And you grew up around the restaurant business, right? Like your father was a chef. You had a family restaurant?
Yeah. So he was, when we first came to Canada, we moved to Belleville, and he worked at the Four Seasons there, and he was like a sous chef. And he stabbed a guy.
Okay.
Stab's a bit aggressive. He jabbed a guy in the butt with a big fork. He was the assistant dining room manager. And then back at those days, if you stab a guy, he got promoted to Peterborough to be the chef.
Okay.
And the other guy gets promoted to dining room manager. I guess that's how they did things back then. So they went to Peterborough, and then that's basically where I grew up. And we had a restaurant there for a little while after he left the hotel business. And then
what kind of restaurant did the family have?
It was, I remember we used the term continental, which just meant casual dining, everything. So, but it was it was very similar. It was like a neighborhood, but it was downtown, but Peterborough's a small town. So it was like a neighborhood spot that.
Did that make, like, having a family restaurant, your father a chef, did that make the hospitality industry feel like this is inevitable, you're going to work in this? Or was it something you were like, I'm going to go a different path? Like, what'd you take at York?
I went to school originally as a business major, but
okay,
ended up like a philosophy major, which seems appropriate for a bartender, I guess. No, it was the exact it was like the latter, what you said. I despised wanting to do this. I just did. It was work.
Yeah.
Through my dad's connections, whatever. When I was a kid, I got a job and as a busboy and whatever, and then grew up and then got bartending jobs and whatever. But I watched how my dad ran his business. He unlocked the door every day and he locked the door up every day. And I'm like, how can you live like that? Just be there all the time.
Did you do roles in that restaurant all the way up? Dishwasher? Did you work for your dad?
Oh, well, I was pretty young. So I mean, once a week I would go there and help him out and do some dishes. Mostly just made me do my homework. But
yeah.
And then as I got a little older, I think I started waitering a little bit near the end. But then that was about it. I always had other jobs too.
Yeah.
So
bartending, you were saying? So
yeah, I used to work at the gazebo in Peterborough.
The gazebo?
Yeah, it's an outdoor patio bar. It's still there. It's quite different, but it's still there.
So I mentioned at the top that you and I go back, and I did a lot of digging around to see if there was some information about you out there, and the only places I could find some interviews with you was the stuff that you and I did back together back in like 2009, 10. But you had said back then that it just kind of happened that you became a pub owner. So when you left York, how did you just fall into the hospitality field?
Well, it was just something I did on the side, right? So I was still at school and working at Bryden's.
That's a big commute.
Well, I lived downtown. The bigger commute was going to it was commute everywhere, actually, going to school and going to work. But it was something I did, and then once I was finished going to school, I just kept working there. Like, philosophy majors don't have a lot of options for jobs out there, so I just kept working, and then one thing led to another, and then when the Tate family, they decided to get out of that establishment, they turned to me and said, "Hey, you want to take it over?" Because everyone thinks you're involved in doing everything.
So that was, they opened that around 1998,
Yeah.
Okay, so Bryden's is on Bloor, Jane and Bloor.
Yep.
And they opened in 98, and you landed there around the year 2000?
No, I landed there in 99.
Oh, 99. Okay. So let's walk me through, because I'd like to know what it was back in the early days when you were there before you took over. And we're going to get to that in a second. But what was it before you took over? What was the scene like there?
It has a very similar vibe, just certain things were a little different. It was very neighborhoody. It back in the early 2000s and late 90s, they had great food for a pub. Like back then, most pubs were from the freezer to the deep fryer to your plate. And I'm not saying our food's not still excellent, but I would say the whole industry has upped their game. Like that's the way it looks. So it was very similar. Just the only major difference would be we were just all macro beers at the time.
Yeah.
Like it was all like we had the whole Bud family, all those kind of things, like all the major brands.
So the guys that owned it was Bryden.
Yep.
Yeah. And
the Tate family.
The Tate family. And what was his vision back then for the pub?
Well, I think he had a great vision. He wanted a place that he really liked, though he'd want to go to. And I think he was like a Carlsberg light drinker, so we had that. So it was just kind of like that. It was a neighborhood spot. It has TVs to watch the game, but it's not dependent on that. It's like not dominating the scene.
Yeah.
So it's just something you go to neighborhood, good food, good prices, good service, good people. Like the customers are great.
And before you took over, before we get to that part, there was a second Bryden's that opened up in Milton.
Well, once Bryden and his wife started having kids, they are from Milton. They moved back to Milton, and they opened another spot. So that was kind of what kickstarted them getting out of Bloor West, because they weren't really there, and that was a commute. And they were only there part-time, like just showing up like for a little bit. Like
so you're pretty much running the show.
Yeah, it was kind of like an extension of them, and then they decided to step out of it, and here we are.
So you're managing the pub, and then around 2005, you took over the pub fully? Yeah. And so why did you decide that, I'm going to do this, I'm going to take it over, and what was the transition like, or was there a transition?
Well, initially they came to me and I said, absolutely not, I'm not doing this. And then word kind of got out that they were going to sell it. Like if it actually came public, I acknowledged that it was on sale. And then one of the regulars came up to me and he just spoke. What he said made sense. So, and a lot of them mentioned stuff, but I'm like, okay, that's cool, whatever. But the one guy, Tom Jordan, he's a retired fireman, but he's a local guy, really nice man. And he decided, like, him and I talked, and then we went out and talked some more, and then it just evolved. It seemed like a good fit. So
what did the regulars say?
A lot of them they were mostly talking to other staff members and saying, why is Tash not taking over? Why is Tash not doing it? They said, I don't know. We had a meeting, and the Tates told us that he's not interested.
And so it was that conversation with the regulars, and then it was the conversation with Tom Jordan that decided, okay, we're going to do this.
Yeah, he just convinced me. It made sense. I mean, kind of like most of my life, in spite of my theories or my judgment, it was the best move I made. So.
Yeah. And so, it's over 25 years now.
Can't be that long. I'm too young of a guy. What are you talking
about? So the name stayed. Was that a practical decision, a sentimental one, or did you just not want to deal with the work that would go into changing the name?
Yeah, I would like to say,
because I know you. I was trying to see if that was where you're going.
I would like to say that no, I did it because of the nostalgia and the establishment. I'm just too lazy.
Is it the original signage that's still up there?
Yeah,
I think
still
so.
The original signage.
Yeah.
It's very beat up looking, and people say, "Why don't you change it?" I don't know. I like it that it's beat up looking like that.
Well, we're going to talk about your decor in a second. We're going to say, is that part of the charm? But so in June of 2009, I had been living in Toronto for just a little bit, and I was brought to Bryden's for the first time and met you for the first time. Mike Lackey and John Bowden, a former GLB staff member, they brought me there to say, you really got to check this pub out, because no one was really talking about it outside of the neighborhood. But as a Toronto craft beer bar, they wanted people to know more about it. So this is what I wrote about Bryden's after I visited that first time. So I'm going to read it, and then I'm going to ask you a question after this. Okay, so if you visited Bryden's pub at Bloor Street West in Jane more than 6 months ago, You would have glanced at the tap handles and noticed the same thing you see when you walk into any sports bar. Multinational products. Keith's, Stella, Hoegaarden, Beck's, etc. A lot has changed since December as the draft lineup has gone through a tremendous overhaul and it is starting to gain some much-deserved attention. The stretch of pubs along the area is littered with brands like Guinness, Rickards, and Keith's. And Bryden's, even though they offer Keith's and Guinness, are now doing their part to separate themselves from the pack by offering draft options rarely seen west of Bathurst. Right now, I've got Great Lakes Orange Peel Ale, GLB Red Leaf, GLB Horseshoe, Steam Whistle, Mike Duggan No. 9, Koenig Chauvin Triple, Mill Street Organic and Tank House, Saint Amboise Cream Ale, Wellington Pale Ale, Grand River Galt Knife, Denison's Vice Beer, Hacker Shore, Guinness, Keith, Stella, and Blackthorn Cider on tap. And a bunch of good beer in the fridge, said Tash. And you followed up by saying, I don't want to be sold by someone. I want to sell someone. I want to believe in a product and sell it, not to be sold by a flashy marketing campaign. I love these beers and I love what they stand for, so they're here to stay. We've been slowly taking off the big guys for the little guys, and so far the remarks from our customers has been great. Denison's Vice Beer replaced Hoegaarden, and although it's a different style, people have been quite enamored with it. It is clearly evident as we sat on the patio. It was a hit with the crowd as customer after customer came out of the bar with the popular Toronto Vice Beer. So that was 2009. You had just made the change 6 months before that, so in December. And so, what do you think when you hear those words?
I don't really think I said that, did I?
You did say that, yeah.
I must have read that out of a marketing book or something. But it seemed like at the time, craft beers were just seeming to gain. There was definitely some like hotbeds for craft beer, right? Like if you want to say what or Volo and places like that. And then I used to sometimes check those places out, and I thought this is more interesting. I was getting tired of that fact that we had 7 lagers that were
all the same.
Yeah,
we were talking about it earlier, Mike Lackey and I, saying you got to really think back to 2009 and the craft scene in Toronto and the places you just mentioned. There was like places like the Academy of Spherical Arts and the original Victory Cafe. So when I say west of Bathurst, there really wasn't anything west of Bathurst that was truly doing what you were doing at that time. And we're going to get to the beer in a second. I just wanted to bring that back to you to kind of set the tone for the next series of questions here. Because it was a big transformation you made after you took over, and we're going to get into why you made that change. But I want you first to walk everyone through Bryden's itself. So for folks who haven't been in, describe Bryden's to me, the space, the vibe, and the feel when you walk through that door, other than being blinded because you can hardly see when you walk in some days. And tell me about the reggae. So let's start with the vibe.
The vibe is just supposed to be like comfortable, your neighborhood spot, like where there's a cool person standing behind the bar. There's cool people sitting at the bar. Like it's about the people mostly. And that's kind of just the vibe. We just want it to be friendly and everything exactly kind of the place you want to go to. So, and
you're saying you want to have that feeling when you walk in, just like you're here, it's comfortable. And
some people look at it and go, okay, what's going on here? Like what's with this weird furniture and what is with the reggae and what is like that? And it's all part of the vibe. I think I'd like to look at it like, think about when you're down south, like if you're on one of those Caribbean vacations, you're sitting around the pool and there's that house band always playing some reggae covers. You're like, oh, I know that song, whatever, but it's reggae-fied or whatever you want to call it. Well, that's the same relaxed vibe I want to partake. That's why we started going with all these reggae covers. And don't get me wrong, there's people that go, okay, enough, ready? That's enough. But I don't know. It's just some people come in there, they think it's great. And they think it's just, oh, I know this song. Like it could be a Taylor Swift song, but it's reggae.
Yeah. And it's great. It's like an Easter egg. When you walk into Bryden's for the first time or the 800th time, you're going to hear reggae playing on the overhead speakers. So walk me through though. Pretend I haven't been there. I'm walking through the front door. What do I see when I walk in?
You're going to see what looks like a neighborhood pub with a slight dive-esque quality. And don't get me wrong, I think some people look at it and go, whoa, this is like we're in Bloor Village. It's kind of a pretty nice neighborhood. Yeah. We don't really have any kind of what we would call dive bars per se. So this has a little different vibe than the cookie cutter place, I think. So that starts it off. So if you like that, then you're like, oh, interesting, something different, not the same thing that we get everywhere else. And then you notice that first thing you'd probably do is get something to drink, and you notice the draft list is completely local and or something very interesting if it's an imported beer. But and then, it should be friendly, service should be efficient, and and you look at the menu, and I think there's some gems on the menu, and it's a good deal.
You got a beautiful long bar. The bar is the focus of the establishment, in my opinion. You have something like 20 seats around the L-shaped bar, and
maybe a little less, but
okay. But it's when you walk in, it's like a real place, like the only cafe. People sit at the bar, and you mentioned the TVs, but then you have the beers behind and some good spirits behind the bar itself. But I want to know about the decor. So you mentioned that. Tell me in your words about the decor.
Well, what some people call it, your grandmother's furniture is what we have. It's your grandmother's rec room. So we have tons of old kind of couches. I'm not even sure how to describe them. They're just old, like something you might have gotten rid of, which actually a lot of them are customers said, I got a couch. You want to take it? And we're looking at the ones we have, and it might be getting a little raggedy. So yeah, sure, we'll switch it out, and they do. And we've also had some people, I had a couple come in about a few years back, and they said, look, it was a gentleman, sorry. He came in, he said, look, I had my first date on that couch. I proposed on that couch. And now we're getting married like next month or whatever. Or it was their anniversary, sorry. And they said, look, I want to buy that couch. And I said, well, I don't really sell it, whatever. He goes, how about this? I got another couch. Can I give you my couch and I'll take that couch? And I said, all right, if it's free, if you want to surprise your wife with this, it's kind of sentimental thing, sure, let's do that. So it's kind of like that.
That's an amazing story. And that's what a pub is all about, right? You're creating memorable experiences. This is what I wrote about the decor back in 2009. Mismatched furniture litters the inside of the pub, well used and seasoned. The old chairs and couches look like pieces you'd put in the rec room of a basement, but damn, are they comfy. There's a large 4-seater couch at the back of the pub beside an oversized Victorian-style chair. The tables and chairs are also an array of different styles, sizes, and color, putting a unique touch on the pub. The walls are decorated with beer signage from the big breweries who used to have more presence here. However, there are some microbrewery, that's an old term, microbrewery signs here and there. The nice 30-person patio out front, surrounded by a black wrought iron fence decorated with some planted flowers. So not much has changed since 2009. It still looks the exact same as that.
Yeah, pretty much. I'm a little older. I look a little older.
But, I was going through some of the pictures back then, and I was looking at the walls and some of the signage. It's all still the exact same. Yeah. And so I think does that help create some of the charm of Bryden's to the locals?
I think so. Some people like refreshing and all that, but we get people that moved away and they come back. They go, oh my gosh, it's the same place.
Yeah.
I'm like, wait, what are you talking about? I changed the wainscoting here. And they're like, you don't recognize that? They're like, what are you talking about?
I put up a new tin tacker.
Yeah.
So let's talk beer now, because I think a lot of people listening will want to talk about or hear about this big change that you made. So when you took over and made it fully yours, the beer list was standard. You had Keys and Coors. Was there a specific moment or turning point that made you decide to make the switch to craft? Was it a beer, a person, a trip?
Well, part of it was just something different. That was kind of my first inclination. I wanted to have something a little different than everything else. Mike Lackey, who was, a regular in the bar and became a friend of mine, he had a lot of input, and then we started doing stuff and searching out beers and going to events. It was early in his days too.
Yeah.
So we started doing stuff. And actually, I think you might have met John Bowden was very impactful. At the time, he was definitely more involved in the craft world. And he kind of, shepherded us around a little bit and took I'm like, oh, I want to change one of these beers. And he was like, oh, this is a good option. This is a craft option. You might want to try it. And I think we went down to the Garrison and tried St. Antoine Cream Ale, and right off the bat I went, this is the best beer I ever had. And so I think he's the one that brought you to Bryden's initially.
He was, yeah. It was Lackey and Bowden and the Stain. You remember the scene?
I forgot about him.
So, but it was John. You're saying it was your inclination to change something, just to be a little different. And then it was Mike and John that really said, "Here's some change." Was it really that easy?
It was. It was kind of like you said. I wanted to do something different. I wanted something more interesting, as with everything. But and then when we started thinking about changing the beers up, they were definitely heavily involved in shepherding me around.
So the bar opened in 99. You took over ownership in 2005. By 2009 or late 2008, you made the change to more craft. So for almost 10 years, regulars were accustomed to these multinational big lagers. You're saying the 7 taps. So what was the reaction like from the customers right off the bat?
There was a little pushback. Definitely, especially when we got rid of Guinness. There still is a pushback there.
Yeah.
But a lot of people started finding it interesting, and it quickly grew to become not a problem.
Yeah.
And I think once people had an open mind, they really enjoyed it.
I remember there was the one regular customer that would come in and have his 2 moose heads with lunch every day, and trying to convince him to get off the moose head, and you only kept that beer on just for him.
There was stuff like that for a little while.
So what did you tell customers, though, when you were trying to tell them why you were making the switch?
Just basically said, look, we think this is a better product. We think you should try it. And for the people that wanted a moose head or whatever, we had GLB. I think at the time it was called Horseshoe. Yep. Which we still call it Horseshoe.
Yeah. You're the only one in the whole province that calls it Red Leaf and Golden Horseshoe. Yeah.
I think and Crazy Canuck.
And Crazy Canuck. You know, there's some bars that still have it.
They?
But they don't have the top handle. Yeah. Why do you do that, by the way?
We like it, to be honest. And again, I mean,
does it ever confuse anyone? They're like, Horseshoe.
Well, I've had to explain it to some people. They're like, is that new? They go, I go down to Great Lakes sometimes. And I buy packages. I never see Horseshoe there. Like, and you never will. Yeah.
So you have to tell them the whole Great Lakes history of how
basically
this beer's been 6 different names over the years, but it's all the same. So the top list is great, as you mentioned, and earlier we said 17 taps, 9 rotation, all local or some of the best beer that you get your hands on. But lots of local Ontario craft, rotating IPAs. You mentioned you got rid of Guinness, but you have a rotating stout line. So how do you go about selecting what's on the list? What's your philosophy behind?
Well, it's tough. There was a time where I would sample everything. That's a little tougher now. And I still trust my breweries that I deal with a lot. So there's that aspect. The second thing is whatever looks interesting, we'll almost give anything a try. And if it works, great. If it doesn't, well, then I guess we don't order it again. And plus, even my customers seem to even like to try something new. Yeah. And they might even say, look, it's not for me, but sometimes
that's the exciting thing. They see a new brewery, or do you ever get customers requesting like, oh, have you ever heard of this brewery or this beer? Or is it still industry folks that are kind of doing
No, we definitely get customers, because I think the craft scene has definitely changed since when we first started.
Yeah.
It's definitely more prominent everywhere. So people go to breweries, people go to other bars and try things. They go to festivals, and then they come back with recommendations. And sometimes I'm like, wow, that's a good idea. Let me try it. And then we've done that too. So
you've served a lot of GLB, and you just said the craft market has changed over the years. But in your experience, what changes have you seen GLB go through since you started serving us back in 2009?
Well, I felt originally GLB was very mom and pop. That's how it felt. It's definitely it's definitely expanded a lot. I love the fact that there's so much more selection that they have, and they just have a better pulse on what's going on in that world as opposed to when they first. I think they were similar to me, just finding their way in the darkness back then.
Yeah. I could say that's probably very accurate. How has your relationship with craft beer evolved since you opened?
Oh, well, I went from nothing to now. Like, I have lots of friends in that industry, let alone it dominates. It's part of our DNA at Bryden's now, so it's a big part of it. So so it's just definitely something that's it makes Bryden's, I think.
So you used to take cask, or you used to have cask condition ale. You were one of the first places in Toronto, I would say, in the top 10 for sure, to install a cask engine and offer a rotation of cask all the time. You don't do it anymore.
We don't do it regularly anymore. Definitely, it was during COVID where it stopped, and then it went like even after for like a year, basically. Like business wasn't the same. There was restrictions for a while, so we even went down to like 4 taps for a little while coming out of that, and then so we just stopped cask, and we haven't really done it. We've done the odd one like once in a blue moon, but I think we'll just. We're open to it. And we probably won't do any now for the summer.
Well, that's what I was kind of getting at with the evolution of craft through the years. Like you used to be, lots of lagers, and then you changed things up. You had, I've mentioned the beers that you had on back in the day, but now are you more focused on like, okay, I need more IPAs, more pale ales, or is it just, do you have a set tap list? So like, these 3 lines are IPAs, these 3 are stouts, these 3.
Yeah, we're something along those lines. Like we have a couple IPA lines, then we also have like a session IPA that we always have. We have an interesting Pilsner line usually, and then we'll definitely have a stout line. So we rotate, but we try to stay to style in each line.
When are you going to put the side pour on? Is that coming?
Maybe. We'll see. We'll see how it goes.
Do you know you sell the most Sunnyside in the province?
I've heard that before.
It's a true story.
Yeah.
The food at Bryden's is so good. And you were talking about it earlier that when the Tate family owned it, they did the same thing. They wanted to have some elevated pub food. But it's not trying to be like fine dining. It's just trying to be elevated, but without that term gastropub, which I despise. But the balance is harder to get it right than it looks, I assume. Why has it always been important to you to keep that food trend or food thread going through Bryden's?
Well, again, it just falls back to I want it to be a place that I want to go to. So, you want to be able to drink some good beer, keep an eye on the game if you like, and have some great service. But then a big part of it, and it's become a bigger part over the years, I think, is you have to have good food for people to have. So you don't want people to go, oh, okay, we'll eat somewhere else. And then
walk us through your food menu right now.
It's very comfort food driven. The onus is we basically make everything in house. Not everything, but like majority.
Yeah.
Well over the majority. And it's just we just make it the right way. Like it's something simple as and people notice this. Like a good example is nachos. I mean, we just use real ingredients and stuff, but like people get excited for stuff like, oh, you know what I love about it? And they'll say it's because you layer the cheese, and I'm like. Yeah, that's of course nothing's worse than having
all the cheese on top,
and then nothing,
and then nothing.
So it's simple stuff like that.
Yeah.
That's not like we're not reinventing the wheel there. We're just doing the things the way it should be done.
But you walk into Bryden's, and like you described earlier, it's a community place. It's a comfort place. It's a cool people working behind the bar, but also sitting there. You can order a burger or you can order pad thai. Like you have a unique menu.
Yeah. We don't like to be cookie cutter in anything we do, so we want to have stuff that's solid, and we want some variety. Like we have a burger, we have wings, but we also have some interesting things like we have one dish which is pretty simple, really. We call it the chicken katsu. It's like a breaded chicken, but the key is we have I think the best Brussels sprouts around that it comes with it is just so good. Like that alone, I sometimes come in and say, can you make me a double order Brussels sprouts? Just eat that.
You also have the best potato salad around. So I used to order it from you when I used to have get-togethers at my house.
You're one of the reasons we brought it back. We got rid of it during COVID because you can't keep everything in stock, but then you kept bugging me for it.
And you'd never tell me the recipe. Will you tell me the recipe right now?
I can tell you the recipe.
But not online.
No, that's no. There's only you'd be one of 2 that know it.
Yeah. Oh, it's such if you're listening, when you go to Bryden's, get the Brussels sprouts, but also get the potato salad. You've hosted in the past events like the Tower of Power, which was a Ontario double IPA festival. That was during Toronto Beer Week. It was hugely popular and it's very well attended. You also did the Best of the West, showcasing Toronto West breweries. You used to throw some pretty cool events, but you don't do that anymore. Why is that?
I thought Best of the West was great. I used to love that. You get a little, because it's multiple breweries, and we like to say all the West End breweries, but I'm still open to stuff. I just feel there's just so much out there now with other festivals and things, and just a common one people want to do is a tap takeover, which is still cool. Don't get me wrong, but I don't know. It's been done to death. I don't know if it does that much for us right now.
Well, there's certain places I think it works, and there's certain places that
definitely.
You have to know that you're a regular client or clientele. Your regular customers coming in going, oh, I just want my. It's a Tuesday night or a Thursday night. I'm here with my group, and I just want my Canuck. But it's off tonight because and then sometimes top takeovers are a risk for some places, because then you get stuck with a bunch of leftover kegs and you have to keep them going for a while. But so you're saying if a brewery approaches you, or breweries, to do Best of the West again, you might be open to that?
Yeah, I'd be open to that. It's just that I feel like it's just changed for us.
Yeah.
Like you said, it works for other places. I think people just, part of it before was the novelty, not the novelty, but being new and having that. People liked the idea of, let me try something like from Great Lakes here, or let me try something from Black Oak in the day or whatever. I mean, now there's people have more access to it and they try it. So it's not that special for our segment anyways.
Yeah. So since you stepped foot in the door in 2000, other than the beer changes, what kind of transformation, if any, would you say Bryden's has gone through? From customers to format, staffing to food offerings?
Interesting. Not a lot, really. Not too much. I'm not really sure. I think we've kind of stuck to our guns and trying to be what we are. Just do everything right, and that's how we try to do it. And just
don't fix it's not broken.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Plus, we're lazy about fixing things. And if you walk around Browns, you'll notice a lot of things need fixing.
Well, that's part of the charm, isn't it? Part of the charm. Okay, we're going to take a quick break. We're going to come back and we're going to talk about more of the inside bar business with Tash. Hang tight.
Well, how's your doodle? Rollin' Baggage here, rolling solo down here at Sunnyside Beach. I likes to get here nice and early to grabs me some prime sandy real estate. I lays out me towel, slather myself liberally with tannin butter, and soak in some tasty vitamin D. Speaking of tasty, looky in me cooler box. A whole gaggle of Sunnyside Session IPA. Big on the taste, low on the alcohol. A springtime, summertime, anytime treat, and a permanent staple in the grips of me fingers. Oh, and check out the can to see a brand new me. Been lifting some iron to boost me biceps, triceps, and me deltoids. You know what they say, sun's out, guns out. Work your tan and crack a can of Sunnyside Session IPA.
That's how we come back from a commercial break. Oh. The lifespan for bars, pubs, and restaurants has drastically shifted. Coming out of COVID, but even before that, it started on the decline, then COVID. Gone are the days when a pub stays open longer than 20 years. It's very, if you weren't around in the early or the late 1990s, you might not be around anymore. But what's the secret to your success?
Just we keep it simple, like we've discussed earlier. Like everything is just done the right way, I think, and then we just do that. And I mean, there's always ups and downs, but people I think people recognize that, and that's.
And how'd you get through COVID?
We did what we normally do at Bryce. We did nothing. We just waited until they said you can open, and then we opened. People always ask, "What are you doing for this holiday?" I said, "Well, we're opening the doors."
Yeah. So it's kind of a similar question, but the community hub for Toronto's craft beer world for a long time has been. So when you are behind the bar and you see the industry social, or you see, I'll name some names, but Ian McCoustra sitting at the bar with Lackey, and you might see Ryan Morrow from Collective Arts. And when you just look at, what do you see from the craft beer world community? Because you've attracted a lot of industry folks to come and drink there. What does that mean to you?
That meant a lot, especially when we were making early transitions. That was a huge thing. It's a little different now because the industry expanded so greatly. So we still have a lot of them. I have definitely some reps and other industry people that come in. They come in regularly, whether they could live in the area or they're in their rounds. So it's been huge. Like people like Ian McCoustra. I remember when he was like the assistant brewer.
Yeah,
he was like head grain shoveler, I think what he was. But now I think I don't know. I think he owns a brewery. Does he? It seems like it's. But we've had great people, and that's part of it too. I thought I met so many great people, and way back then, through Lackey, most of it, I used to go to everything.
Mm-hmm.
We'd go to the U.S., we'd go to there, we'd go to different festivals here, we'd go up to
to Montreal to Pied de Cochon, and you and I had a good time at Mondial de la Bière.
Oh yeah, definitely some fun times there.
But what do you, when you look out and see industry folks drinking there, what does it make you feel?
It almost feels like it almost legitimizes us in some degree, and like I said, they push people in the industry, help push us, like propped us up a bit for a little while, and not for a little, they still do.
Mm-hmm.
But it was definitely something as we were trying to gain credibility of being a bar that serves some interesting craft beers, having the people that make it and are involved in it, having them around was a huge plus for us.
It's still one of the places, again, we talked about it right at the start, that people will text me or Lackey and be like, we really want to get on at Bryden's. Like, it's one of those unicorn bars that we just want to get one tap one time there and see how it does. So here's a little pivot here. At one point, you invested in Bar Hop, another Toronto craft beer institution. You partnered with them on opening the now shuttered Bar Hop on Peter Street. So I want to ask, because I was really pushing you back then to go to Danforth and open something on the Danforth. I thought that'd be an awesome commute. Jump on the TTC, go to Bryden's Danforth, and then have a beer there, and then take the subway to Jane, get off, and go to Bryden's at Jane and Bloor. But so what was behind that, the partnering with them to open?
Well, I think that starts off with Jimmy McDonald.
Mm-hmm.
He lives in my neighborhood. He was a regular. And I remember him coming in one day. I think it was a summer of 1,000 beers, he called it, or whatever. He's going to have 1,000 different beers. Yeah. And he was there. I was working a shift. I came in, he was already there. And then by the time I finished, he was still there. But
responsible drinking.
Yeah, they were chills. They were sitting at a table, him and his friend.
And Heidi.
No, it was actually just one of his buddies or whatever. But anyway, they were chill. And he wanted me to sit with him. And then he mentioned this thought. He told me about the 1,000 beer thing. Then he told me he was interested in opening something. And I think he was alluding to maybe like if I wanted to get involved. But I'm like, yeah, okay, whatever. And then all of a sudden one day, I think Rob Mora, I think back in his Bose days, I know he's with you guys now, but he decided, hey, I'm going to the spot downtown just for a quick one. I got to drop some stuff off. You want to come with me? It's a new place. It's doing really well. I'm like, okay, let's check it out. So he drove me down there. We walked to the kitchen, and I walk out, sit down, and I look at a table, and I see Jimmy McDonald sitting there, and Heidi, and some friends, and they're waving, they're something or whatever. And then I find out after, oh, this is their place. Yeah. So I go, oh, you did do this. Well, good for you. And then it exploded. It's done great. So, of course, I'm like, oh, I'm an idiot. Why didn't I get involved in this?
Bar Hop was one of the hottest.
Huge.
In Toronto.
Still pretty good.
Yeah.
So then we talked, and we said, we still have, they were interested in doing something else, so we're still interested. And I said, okay, then it kind of died for a bit, and then it came back, and I said, okay. So I was more silent, just kind of an investor. Yeah. Jimmy and Rob were the two spearheaded it.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, it was tough with losing some downtown business. After COVID, a lot of people went to hybrid working, so it was less people. And then
it was a big space too.
It was a big space, and then when our lease came up, it just financially didn't make sense for what the increases they wanted. So unfortunately, we had to shut it down. So
my question would be now is, so you did that, but looking back, would it be proud of what that was, or damn, I should have just opened a second place?
I gotta believe. I hope this doesn't sound arrogant. I gotta believe that anything that I'd be more hands on, I regret that. If anything, I wasn't planning on being that, but if I had that, then I feel like hopefully things would have been better. So to answer your question, I'd probably rather go with nothing that scale, something probably bigger than Bryden's, but maybe just open up something a little, probably similar to the original bar hop would be more interesting for me. There'd be something to, and I find the big places I don't have as much experience in that, and they'd be harder.
Yeah. I think you lose a little bit of that community connectivity as well too.
100%.
And so you know, when you and I go back to Bryden's today for lunch and beers, because we're going to, you're gonna walk in and you're gonna probably know. We told him to turn his cell phone.
I did.
What a guy. You're probably gonna walk in and know the majority of people sitting there for lunch today, and you're gonna have a conversation with them. So it's a little different when you walk into a 3-story place and in downtown. So is there ever actually I'm going to hold that question until the very end, but so I want to talk about the licensee side. So for 25 years you've dealt with reps, a lot of reps, but like I said, you're a little elusive, you're hard to get a hold of. What do you actually look for when a rep does come in and gets a hold of you? What makes one stand out from the crowd, and what drives you crazy?
Oh, that's a good question, because I definitely have opinions on that. What I don't understand, especially if they get a hold of me, the ones that just go, here's my list, here's my card, we're interested in blah, blah, and they just leave.
Yeah.
Like, isn't that, as someone isn't the opportunity that you have the decision maker in front of you?
Yeah.
Sit down.
Yeah.
Talk, like, I'm there.
Sell you.
Usually I'm there during the day when we're not quite as busy, so I have time to talk to you. And they just don't. Like there's other guys that come in and they sit down, and they sometimes have lunch and they use that opportunity to talk, and then we get to know each other. I think beer is a great industry, and the best part of it is the people. So let's get to know each other better. Let's have a relationship, and then show me what interesting beers you have, what's good and whatever. So.
And a beer's a good icebreaker.
100%. So the ones who stick around.
I've also seen you though when you're there and a rep walks in and doesn't know what you look like, and then you're like, "No, I'm not here." I've also seen that.
I don't know what you're talking about.
I've been to many bars over my years, and where I've seen the exact same. That you're not alone in that respect. Like Fabian Skidmore, the art director for Great Lakes. Oh, by the way, did you know he worked for The Only Cafe? But when he was at The Only Cafe and he was running the bar, he'd be at the end of the bar doing work, and someone would walk in and they had no idea who he was, and they'd try to pitch the bartender and say, "Well, I'm really looking for Fabian." And Fabian would look up and be like, "I'm not here." And the bartender would say, "He's not here." So it's so
he actually says, "I'm not here."
To the bartender,
okay.
Because they don't know but he's with us now. He doesn't do that anymore. So you said what stands out and what drives you crazy is just the handing the business card.
I don't understand how that's sales.
What do you do with all the samples? People just come in and leave.
They
give them to staff, or
I don't give them to staff, but if staff wants them, they just say, "I want that one." I'm like, "I don't care. That's fine. You can have it." Like most of them just pile up. Yeah. Until we realize we have to get rid of them, then we pile them up somewhere else, and then eventually we get rid of them. But sometimes, if it's very interesting, I'll try it. Yeah. But half of the times, the ones that are just left from me, I've never heard of it. I don't usually get around to because there's too much, and I don't know them. So.
Well, here's the fun question now. So we're going to look at it from a big brewery perspective, and then we'll look at it from a small brewery perspective. But when you switched to craft all those years ago, that must have ruffled some of the big brewers' feathers. Did they continue to knock on the door and say, "Hey, bring us back, and this is what we'll help with or give you"? Or did they just say, or did they not even notice that you made this switch?
They noticed, because I think at the time we were dealing with Labatt's a lot. Mm-hmm. And then slowly we shifted. We took a few off, and then eventually we took them all off. And then a week later, I got a call from it was a newer rep, and he offered me tickets to. This is the worst part. He offered me tickets to Donny Osmond. He goes, "Hey, what are you doing tonight? You want to go to Donny Osmond?" And I'm like, "No." And that's a terrible bribe if that's what it is. Like, but then he kept calling, like he kept trying to me, and then he'd come back. What can we do to do this? I'm like, "Look, I'm going to change things up and try something else." And that was about it. They still come by once in a while.
I was at Bryden's before COVID, and there was a rep for Labatt. I can't remember his name, but he did come in while we were there. Great Lakes was there. Do you remember this?
I don't.
We were sitting down having lunch, and you were actually there, and he came in to do a sales pitch right in front of. There must have been 5 or 6 GLB people having lunch. And we were like, "Good luck, buddy. Good luck." And I can't remember his name, but I can remember that day pretty vividly. It was about 2009 or 19, sorry, 2019. But it was a good one. Do you still get them coming in now, though?
A little bit.
Yeah.
Like usually when someone new to the territory, and then they come in and
scope it out, and
and they usually leave their card or something.
All right. So I thought there was gonna be some more sexy answers to that, but how has the cost landscape, food, labor, rent, changed? What's actually viable for a bar or a pub to put stuff on their menu? Are you seeing beer priced too high, or what are you seeing?
I would say yes, but that's everything.
Yeah.
Like you said, all those things. It's a different world. Like I remember back when we were like having a real tough time trying to think, well, we got to raise beer prices to $5. We don't want to break that threshold. Well, forget about that now. Yeah. Like that was, I remember we used to charge $4.50 for a beer, and we didn't want to get to $5. And it's a different market now, right? Like people, like I remember you can go out for lunch and $20, you're great. Like now it's like you're going for lunch, you have a couple of beers, you're with a tax and gratuities and everything, you're probably looking at $50 now.
2012, I started with Great Lakes, and then I got handed a $20 bill, and they said, I won't say who said it, but they're like, I was going to London to Milosh, and they handed me the $20 bill, and they're like, bring back the change. I'm like, go get lunch, but bring back the change. I was like, oh, okay. All right. Is there a gap in the Ontario craft beer market that you wish someone would fill? So you're sitting there looking, going, I want a discount brand, or I want a new style that hasn't been done, or a new format, or are you pretty happy with the way things are going right now?
Yeah, I'm pretty happy with it for the most part. There's definitely too much onus on certain styles, and there'd be more shit. I don't really necessarily have the style off the tip of my tongue here to tell you what they should be doing or what might be interesting. But it's like all I get is, I got this IPA, and I got this IPA, and I got this IPA. Maybe we should have some more, like, I feel like there's even a little pushback. Like maybe people are, like, IPAs are a little much now. Like maybe a nice, slightly hop Pilsner or something. Like there is that, but I'm saying I'm gravitating towards that more. Yeah. I just might like some more. There's a lot of sours, but there's not that many fruit beers, which sometimes is.
You want the orange peel back?
Maybe.
One of the first fruity beers you had, yeah.
That's kind of one of the beers that really made us become more craft heavy. That was definitely, for us, that was like, whoa, what's going on? Orange beer.
Well, it's such a crazy story to think of. Back then, an orange peel ale was like earth-shattering in Ontario craft beer. Like, what are they doing? They're putting orange peel, like real orange peel back then, in your beer. And then pumpkin followed, and green tea and winter ale. And it is hard to imagine that.
I remember they had that plastic orange tap handle, which was also different.
Yep.
But then we thought it'd be fun because I remember you guys had real orange peel. We just used something and we put an actual orange on there for a little while, just see how it was good for about 4 days. And then it became a problem.
Like on the top handle,
we spiked it in. Right away, people started, my fingers are sticky when I'm pouring a beer. And
fruit flies all over
and then the orange started shrinking and shriveling up. That was one of our best moments. That wasn't one of our best moments.
You do have a lot of old tap handles still on display there, which is pretty cool. You can, if you're going in and look up top, you can see some pretty relic brands from yesteryear that are no longer around anymore, which is fun. I got to ask the old question that every pub owner gets, but what's the best part of running a bar and the worst part? And don't say people.
I've used that as an answer before. But But yeah, just the fact that, like, there's work, don't get me wrong, but the overall part of it is just fun, right?
Yeah.
Like, you're dealing with beer, making people happy. It is work, like I said, but it's a casual environment.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very social job, right? Like, so that's a roundabout way of saying people, I guess.
Okay.
And definitely the worst is just dealing with all the regulations and everything.
Yeah. Just trying to keep up on all the licensing.
There's different rules. A real thing that bothers me a lot right now is the dog thing. I know I'm going off on a tangent. I don't know why I thought of this, but everybody has a dog that has a fake, like, service animal.
Yeah.
And I go around, I see dogs everywhere. Mm-hmm. And we've been strict about it. And I'm a huge dog guy, as you know. And we've been strict about it. But now I've almost been like, you know what? They say they have it, then I'm letting it go. I don't care anymore. And I just either want them to structure it or forget about it. And people get upset, so I just want them.
And this is a Toronto thing. This is
a Toronto thing that I noticed, yeah. I just feel like I had to say that. I don't know why.
Yeah, there's, and fractions of groups are out there. You can look at Reddit forums and everything. Oh, this place doesn't allow you to bring dogs into the establishment, even if they are, like, no, if they're a service dog, you have to come in, whether it's real or not. You can't question them. But I don't know, it makes people happy if you see a dog on the patio. And
patio's fine. We allow that because that's legal. It's just inside.
Yeah.
We're told we're not supposed to do it.
How often did you bring your dog in?
Almost never.
No?
Well, a little bit during COVID when we were shut down. I brought her in when I had to doing stuff. But I sit on the patio there. Yeah. But that's about it.
What do you want people to say about Bryden's when they're telling a friend to go?
I want them to say it's just that neighborhoody spot, similar to what you kind of said, like you're home away from home kind of thing. You're comfortable. The place you want to go to, basically.
Like a Cheers answer.
That is a Cheers answer.
But I would say the potato salad too. What does the future hold for you? So this is the big loaded question right at the end before we get to rapid fire. What does the future hold for Bryden's? Because we all know that there are lots of rumors out there. There's a sign that the building is being sold.
So I'll give you, it shouldn't be a rumor. It's already been sold.
No, but the rumor is, sold and then closed down.
It's the idea. It was sold to someone that is slating it for development. Mm-hmm. It's been pushed back because of, at least my understanding, that their plans have been pushed back because of the condo market being down.
Yep.
So there's no rush. So there's still like 3 years at least, if not longer.
Yeah.
And that's really it. And we don't get a lot of information. We just go, and I guess one day they'll tell us.
So say 3 years from now, you knock and saying, okay.
Yeah, well, we still have 3 years on our lease.
Okay.
And so there's at least that. And then it still could go depending on.
So what happens if you do get kicked out of that place? What are you going to do?
That's up in the air. I could do. I'm not getting any younger, so it could be the end of me in the bar business. It could be. I'm not saying that. I could get involved in something else. Yeah. Just keep going. 3 years. That's a long time for me. So.
Yeah. Well, it'll be almost 30 years by that point.
That'd be nice if we got to 30. That'd be something, I guess.
All right. I was hoping you're going to make big announcement that no matter what happens, Bryden's will live on somewhere someday.
Could.
You live one day at a time, don't you?
Yeah, exactly.
Whenever you're not golfing, you're at the pub, and whenever you're not at the pub, you're golfing. We're going to come right back after a quick ad from Great Lakes Lager and ask Tash some rapid-fire questions. Hang tight.
Here we observe the elusive GLB pet octopus named Octo. Protective, territorial, passionate about hops.
I can hear you talking about me.
Its prized possession, the Great Lakes Brewery Octopus Wants to Fight six-pack.
Which is now available at the LCBO for some reason.
Ah, yes. 6 shimmering cans of the Great Lakes Brewery Octopus Wants to Fight six-pack. Bright, citrusy, dangerously drinkable.
How about some privacy, pal?
Unfortunately for the octopus, the six-pack is now widely available.
Don't remind me.
Octopus Wants to Fight six-pack, now available at the LCBO.
Why I order?
Ouchie, Great Lakes Brewery. Brewed for you, Ontario.
Okay, rapid fire time. You ready for this?
All right.
Name the number one GLB account in the province.
Well, I have an answer, but
It's Bryden's.
yeah.
Okay. Well,
I didn't want to sound arrogant.
Well, I wanted to point
Not in the
that
country.
out.
We're not number one in the country.
We only sell beer in Ontario.
So we are number one in the country.
Number one in the
Okay.
country. What beer have you been enjoying recently other than GLB?
That's a tough one. There's lots, but there's the first one I thought of is actually, I met the gentleman at your Christmas party. He came in and we started chatting, and his name's Dan Ellis, and he's with Fern Farm.
Okay, yeah.
So I met him that way, and we talked, and he was like, "Well, we're very small. You only come once in a blue moon." And I was like, "Well, I'm interested. Blah blah. Let's see your stuff," because I just dug his vibe and the things you were saying were good. And we get his, I think it's called Twice on Sundays. Mm-hmm. It's a Pilsner. So I think I mentioned that earlier. I like the Pilsner with the touch hop. And I've been enjoying that lately. So
he's a good dude, good brewer, good good brewery
that's,
too.
I was gonna say I fell in love, but that's a bit much. But
I'm gonna tell him you said that.
Yeah,
Dan,
I like the person first.
He's blushing right now, Dan.
I like the person first, and then I got into, and he said all the things I wanted to hear, and then I tried his beer, and I thought, excellent.
Yeah, good. So name a brewery that consistently impresses you.
You want me to say Great Lakes, right?
No,
okay.
No. Well, you can if you want to, but no.
Well, they're up there for sure. Like, I mean, I don't want to pump your tires too much, but definitely, like, I mean, I work so well hand in hand with all your folks, Jeremy now, Lackey, yourself, Rob, and all the other guys. And I don't know, I can't say anybody else other than that. Just to support you, the whole brewery and the staff and the people have given me. And so
spoiler alert, you're on a licensee spotlight on social media this week, and then you got the podcast. It's like we coordinated this. Name a person in the industry that has or continues to inspire you.
So there's lots, first of all. I don't want to say Mike Lackey because he's just going to, but he's definitely involved. Like I said early on, John Bowden, big part of it. And that entails introducing me to you. Yeah. And early on the days, it was before even Taps, I think. You had your blog. Yeah. What was it called? It was Great Canadian Pubs? Yeah. Or is it? Yeah, that was it. It wasn't the one where you started selling memorabilia or whatever that was. That one, that was my favorite blog.
The Canadian
Breweryana stuff.
Breweryana,
Growlers.
Yeah, and lots of other things.
That was kind of short-lived, that part of it.
Well, I got as soon as my first kid was born, and it was like, I got to stop this stuff. Yeah,
but definitely that first blog, that you did when you focused on Bryden's, that definitely put us on the map. So that was definitely a thing. And then you started with Taps and doing all that. So you're definitely involved in that mix. Like, you've done a lot for the brewery for the bar, and and then in like between you and Lackey, just meeting all the other people, and that all adds into it. Like a Makustra, like a Ryan Morrow, and like these people that are early brewers.
They're still sticking around and still coming to Bryden.
Ryan was in last week.
Yeah, I heard.
We'll leave it at that.
I heard. Best time and place for a beer?
Let me guess. Everyone says anytime. Okay, but I'm gonna go with, for me, and this is very specific, I love finishing a round of golf and having a beer in the patio, the pub, whatever.
What's your handicap?
We won't talk about that. But you know what the best time is, though? After you have a good round.
Okay.
Which is few and far between. But that, for me, that is.
Favorite cigar?
Oh, that's easy. AJ Fernandez Bell's Artist, the natural, though. That's hands down. That's my only cigar, really.
Natural.
But I don't like I'm getting older. The Maduro's a little too strong.
What's a beer style you think deserves more love? I think you've already kind of answered this one.
Yeah, probably that. But the other thing I really like is, and this is one of the bigger problems for me, I can't find any local Hefeweizens. Like, there's a few. There's not many. And there's sometimes
one right now.
You do. But there was a stretch last month where everyone was out.
Yeah.
I mean, you can always get Denison's, which is excellent. Don't get me wrong, but I like to
it's
mix
called
it
Side Launch now.
It is called Side Launch, sorry. It's still Denison's for us.
Yeah,
we would still use the Denison.
You still have
handle.
the Denison handle with the CN Tower
and the wheat.
Yeah,
To me, that's the second best handle I've ever seen.
Okay, well, I'm going to give you another one. Okay. True History, who the boys are coming on here next week. But True History does a really great Weiss beer.
So we used to. We've carried that many times, and it's all because of his name escapes me, but they just opened Elmwood. But so he left.
Alan.
Alan and his wife. Yeah. So they're regulars.
Yeah.
I mean, unfortunately less so. They're busy now. But
they're at Great Lakes when they're off. Yeah.
Yeah, and they have kids and everything's going on. So still wonderful people. But Alan used to drive it over himself and bring me their Hefeweizen. Yeah. So we still have that.
Favorite bar to have a GLB at other than Bryden's?
So that's a tough one. I got to go to I don't ever do it anymore because life's changed. But I used to go, my regular haunt like 10 years ago, 15 years ago, would have been House of Parliament.
Oh, yeah.
That used to be my go-to spot.
Great food, too.
Great food. But I was a House of Parliament when it was down underneath. Below. Yeah. And I used to go there, and that was my regular. I'd go there all the time. Got really good friends with the bartenders. They took care of me, and like you said, the food's excellent. And that's the same vibe. It had a nice cozy thing. It did get weird though when I went back. I moved away. I went back, and then it was upstairs, and I could be wrong, but I swear the bartender then had a tuxedo shirt and a bow tie. So it had a totally different vibe to me. I could have been drunk and not remember this, but that's how I view it.
Well, speaking of drunk, do you remember the road rash story?
I'm trying to remember that one. I can't quite get
Gumball Head and Dreadnought.
Oh.
At Casa's house?
Yeah.
Or was it, no, it was at Lackey's house.
It was Lackey's house. That was, what do we call that? Saloon League.
That was Saloon League, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm not going to bring that up, I'm not going to make you tell the story. But
I hate Gumball Head. Give me that other beer. Oh, Tash,
okay, I'll tell the story.
You're drinking a double IPA. You know that.
We had a Saloon League, and it was where you'd bring in beers from the U.S. you couldn't get in Canada, and there was two from Three Floyds: Dreadnought, which was the double IPA, and Gumball Head, which was kind of like the 4.5% Miami Vice style, like a American wheat ale. And Tash was going on that he didn't like it, so he drank a whole bunch of Dreadnought that night, and then maybe ran down the street and fell.
Yeah, I yelled at everyone, "I'm out of here! I hate you people."
That was a good night.
The funny thing is, I refused to drink Gumball because I thought I hated it.
Yeah,
and then one day we were sitting at Bryden's, and I had something, but Lackey had Miami Vice.
Yeah,
and I accidentally grabbed his, and I drank it. And I went, "This is really good." And he goes, This is
Gumball Head. This is like
basic Gumball Head. I don't think it was called Miami Vice yet, but it was just called something Vice or something. But then, I think you called it American Wheat or something.
Something,
like yeah. But then now I love it. It's my favorite. It's one of my favorite beers. I forgot about that. Yeah. So that might be one of my favorite beers.
Most underrated thing on the food menu at Bryden's?
Oh, there's just so much. No, but I would say the one thing, and here's the thing, everyone has one, but I think our chicken sandwich is unbeatable, especially like the value and the quality of it. Like it's got everything in it. It's huge.
You can never bring delicious. Back the Maestro salad? That was good.
Maestro was pretty good.
It was very.
You know why it was called Maestro, right?
No, Seinfeld.
Well, it's because it was our take on a Cobb salad.
Oh, okay.
And the Maestro was Bob Cobb, right?
Bob Cobb. Oh,
so then we called it the Maestro.
Best brewery you've ever toured?
What is that brewery? Bell's, okay?
Bell's.
So it's not. It is the best. It might have been the best brewery I've ever toured, but it was the worst tour of my life
because it was so long.
Oh, it was me, Mike Lackey, and Ryan Morrow. Yeah. He got mentioned twice. And we go there, and it was a special tour they set up because two big famous brewers from Canada were coming down, and some guy in a visor. So we go around.
Were you wearing sandals too?
Of course was. And the guy was he wasn't just a tour guide. Like the guy, he was like one of the
head honchos.
Yeah, he wasn't even like a brewer. He was like the science guy or something. And we're walking around. They're talking about the gravity of beer and this and that and all these things and centrifuge this and that. And I'm like, I don't know. I'm like sitting down. I'm like leaning on posts. It went for 2 hours.
Yeah.
And guess what? 2 hours, and they didn't give us a beer. I was like, this is horrible.
I recently did the same tour, but I was with Fabian Skidmore, and he started drinking Two Hearted 7%, like at 9:30 in the morning. By the time the tour ended, because they were given samples, by the time the tour ended and by the time we got back up to the little room, the guy must have guzzled down seven Two Hearted in the 2 hours.
That would have been great, but we didn't get any. We got a beers after, but we didn't get anything during the thing.
If you weren't in the bar business, what would you be doing? Be poet or philosophy?
I might be a podcaster maybe. No, I don't know what I would do. I can't answer that question. Okay. I'm sure I'd be doing this.
If you could have a beer with just one person in the whole world, dead or alive, famous or not, who would you choose?
I can't answer that. I've heard questions like that. I've thought about it in the past. I just like having beers with my friends. Okay. That's it.
Oh, well,
all my friends. Answer. And Spoon, my dog.
Okay. I hate to ask this one, but are the Habs going to win the cup?
Of course they are. I bet $10 at the start of the year on them.
Oh yeah, $10.
$10 pays over 1,000.
Where can people find out more about Bryden's?
Just come on in.
Yeah,
just come on in.
What's the address?
2455 Bloor Street West, right at the foot of Jane on Bloor.
And if you Google it, you might come across a blog post from 2009 that you can read all about.
Or you might,
and things haven't changed. Yeah.
I think we had some people come in a few weeks ago and said, "Hey, do you have pizza?" We go, "No, we don't. We don't accept pizza." Go, "Did you used to have pizza?" No. And then I thought that was weird. Then I had another person ask me about it. And then we did a simple Google search, and on our Google thing, there's a picture of us with an award. We won Best Pizza of 2025. So, yeah, I don't know. We don't even serve pizza. We have pizza places on either side of us.
That's crazy.
But that's how good we are. Yeah. Even if we don't make it, we're the best.
Nice. Well, you should just buy some microwavable stuff.
Yeah, some McCain's.
So to close out, I want to read the last paragraph I wrote about the pub in 2009. So, and back then, I wasn't very fancy with the words, but Bryden's is a great pub that deserves some attention from those who follow the Toronto beer scene on a regular basis. There are certain pubs in Toronto that I've come to love, and I think I found a new West End hangout. Whether going to the pub by yourself or with a group of friends, Bryden's is a place that makes you feel welcomed, and the staff show their appreciation for your patronage with their outgoing and personal nature. A nice find just steps away from the Jane subway station. Well, Tash, hundreds of visits later, I love Bryden's more and more with each visit. And today we didn't even talk about the breakup chair. We didn't talk but you've been running one of Toronto's great craft beer pubs for 25 years or more, and it was long overdue to sit down and hear the story. And again, thank you for opening up more than you usually do, for what you've done for the craft beer in this city and this province, and for offering me a space to work for so many years. So thanks for coming on, and cheers.
Cheers.
And that's it. That's all, folks. Episode 63 with Mr. Congeniality himself. Tash Sundup, owner of Bryden's on Bloor, has moved from the mash tun to the fermenters. If you enjoyed our conversation or any other episodes, please leave a review or a comment wherever you get your podcasts. It genuinely helps more than you know. Today's episode is fueled by cans of Sunnyside Session IPA. Big on the taste, low on the alcohol, a springtime, summertime, anytime treat, which you can find all across Ontario at the beer store, LCBO, select grocery stores, convenience stores, and at both GLB retail stores. Cans are also online at greatlakesbeershop.ca for free local home delivery. You can visit the brewery at 30 Queen Elizabeth Boulevard in Etobicoke or grab some delicious eats and fresh pours at our brew pub at 11 Lower Jarvis Street in Toronto. If you have any content that you'd love to hear us discuss on the show, guest ideas, or just want to tell us what you're drinking, drop us a line at podcast@greatlakesbeer.com. Until next time, please remember to keep tipping your glass of fresh GLB in the right direction. Supporting local never tasted so good.
To learn more about what's happening at Great Lakes Brewery, visit greatlakesbeer.com and subscribe to our weekly newsletter or follow Great Lakes Beer on your favorite social media platforms.